why strawberry isn't a berry, why watermelon is a berry, why peas are fruits and not vegetables, why squash and pumpkins are fruits and not vegetables, and why a lot of other fruits and vegetables are mistaken to be each other. So first we're going to start off by really defining what a plant, a fruit, and a vegetable actually is. So a plant is a living organism exemplified by trees, plants, or trees, shrubs, mosses, ferns, grasses, and they all obtain inorganic minerals through their roots, and they photosynthesize. They perform photosynthesis as a means for synthesizing those minerals and to live. Now, a fruit is the ovary of a flower which contains the seed. So by definition, anything that does not contain a seed is not a fruit. So watermelons without seeds are not fruits. Grapes without seeds are not fruits. And a vegetable isn't really defined as something specific. A vegetable is just different parts of the plant that is not the fruit that are edible. So I got this little picture over here. I don't know if you can really see it, but I'll show y'all pictures if I need to. But if you look at this is a picture of a flower. At the bottom you got the roots. That's like your potatoes, your yams, your sweet potatoes. Those are the roots of the plant. The stem, which holds up the plant, is like your celery and asparagus. That's why they're long. They look like stalks almost. Then you got the leaves on the plant, which are the like spinach and lettuce. And then your flowers at the top are like cauliflower and broccoli that aren't really fully developed. Okay, so now fruits are a little bit different, right? It's easy to define what a vegetable is, but the fruits are, it's a lot of different types of fruits. So we first just gonna start off, at the bottom, it ain't on here, but you got the stalk and you got the roots, and then you got the sepal. So we just gonna go over this flower's anatomy real quick, because that's where fruits come from. So if you look at the bottom, you got the sepal. The sepal is the part of the flower which protects the flower as it's developing and growing, right? Okay, so then you got the petals. The petals are what attract pollinators. Pollinators are animals like bees, flies that fly into plants and they take pollen, distribute it to another plant, or they fertilize the plant that it's already on, right? Okay, so then this entire piece right here, this is part of the ovary, but this entire thing is called the carpel. This is the female part of the plant. It contains the style and the stigma. The stigma is the opening where the bees and pollinators take the pollen, and the pollen goes down here and fertilizes the egg inside of the ovary. So the ovary is the enclosure which holds the egg. So once the bee lands on the anther, which is the male part of the plant, this entire piece right here, this green part and this orange part, is called the stamen. This anther is the orange part up here which holds the pollen. Okay, so the bee lands on the anther, then it lands on the stigma, the pollen is transferred down to the ovary, the egg becomes fertilized, now the egg turns into a seed. So once the egg is fertilized, the ovary starts to develop and it starts to get bigger. Eventually this ovary exits outside of the flower, the petals fall off. You may have some plant still left on it, like a berry, you know what I'm saying, or a tomato that have they still have the flower at the top of them sometimes. So now the fruit is fully out. Now it will reproduce itself by means of another animal coming by, eating it, digesting it, and pushing it out, and then it will refertilize and the process will happen again. So this is how plants reproduce themselves. Now, why is a strawberry not a berry, and why is a tomato a berry, and why is a pea a fruit? Well, let's start off with strawberries. Now, you got a bunch of different types of fruits we're gonna go over. Now, a strawberry, a raspberry, and a blackberry are considered to be what you call aggregate fruits. Now, this picture up here is the exact same picture as this. It's just these orange parts right here are the petals, and this is the ovary. I just made the ovary of the flower big. So remember, the ovary of the flower is the fruit. So this is how apples grow. This is how berries grow. It's one ovary per flower, one fruit per flower, right? So an aggregate fruit is multiple ovaries per one flower, multiple fruits per one flower, okay? So when a strawberry or a blackberry or a raspberry grows, when the flower is developing, it produces multiple ovaries. So it produces multiple fruits. So now, as a result, the ovaries are normally a lot smaller. So now you got all these many fruits that are starting to combine together. So when you look at a aggregate fruit like a strawberry, raspberry, or a blackberry, each of those little pieces attached to each other are individual fruits. That's why when you bite into them, they have little seeds in them. It's so many seeds, and those aren't actually seeds. Those are pits that you will find in like a nectarine or a plum or a peach. And the little pieces on the raspberry, or that make up the raspberry, are called drupelets. And they're called drupelets because there's another form of type of fruits that we're gonna go into called drupes, which are fleshy fruits that contain pits like peaches, nectarines, and such. Okay, so you got a bunch of drupes connected to each other. Now, blackberries and raspberries are similar. Okay, strawberries are a little bit different. The red part of the strawberry that you see isn't actually the fruit itself. The red part is a part of the plant that's called the fleshy receptacle. Now, the little seeds that you see on the outside are called fruits. Those are the actual fruits. So the blackberries and the raspberries, they're actually all connected little fruits, and they're connected by hairs. The rest of the hairs that you see as you eat the raspberries and stuff. Okay, so this is why strawberries aren't berries. Berries grow individually. So it's one ovary per flower, one fruit per flower. This is how grapes, this is how cranberries grow. They're all connected to one vine. They're all connected to one vine. Each fruit has its own flower. Aggregate fruits is multiple fruits per one flower, okay? So now we're gonna go over the different types of fruits. So you got berries. Berries all grow from a single fruit or a single flower. Those are your raspberry or cranberries, grapes, and tomatoes and stuff like that. Your peppos are pretty much bigger berries. Those are your melons, your watermelons, your cucumber, your squash, your pumpkins. And squash and pumpkins are pretty much big ass berries. They all grow from a single flower like this, but they grow on a connected like that, you know what I'm saying? So that's what classifies them to be a berry. That's what classifies them to be a fruit and not a vegetable, because they contain seeds in it. A cucumber is a fruit because it contains seeds in it. Okay, so peppos are pretty much berries with hard outsides. Then you got citrus fruits. That's another form of berries. They're called modified berries. They aren't exactly like the peppos and the berries, but those are your oranges, your lemons, your limes, and stuff like that. Then you have your drupes. Your drupes are your peaches, your nectarines, your cherries, and stuff like that, that all have a pit inside. And inside of that pit is a seed. Coconuts are drupes as well. The part of the coconut that you see is actually the pit of the fruit, and there's a bigger enclosure on the outside. But coconuts are also considered to be seeds and nuts as well, because they fit the description for all three. Okay, so then you got seeds. Now seeds is what we commonly refer to as nuts. So what you call your pistachios, your Brazil nuts, walnuts, any type of almond or what we normally consider to be nuts are actually seeds of the fruit. It's not the actual nut. Nuts are like acorns and stuff like that, or hazelnuts. Now, your last one, or the last couple ones is legumes, right? So you got legumes are pretty much seeds, but instead of them having a hard outside like a pistachio, it has a softer outside like a pod. Like that's why peas are fruits. Peas are actually seeds, but the pod on the outside is the actual ovary from the flower. So the pea pod is the actual fruit, and the pea on the inside is the seed. So that's the only difference between a pistachio and a pea, is that the outside is soft and the pistachio, the outside is hard. Okay, so then you got your aggregate fruits, which are multiple fruits, like we talked about, like raspberries and strawberries and stuff like that. And then you got pomes, which are your apples and pears, which have cores. They still grow like this. And anything that falls into that category of having a core and a couple seeds in it, looking like a fruit, or looking like an apple or a pear, those are your pomes. Then you got other fruits like jackfruit and pineapple, which is actually one big ass flower. It's like a bunch of flowers that make up one flower. That's why it's like little petals on the outside and it looks so artistic on the outside of a pineapple is because it's actually a bunch of flowers with a bunch of fruit. So pineapple is one big ass flower with a bunch of fruits in it. So yeah, so we just define the difference between fruits and vegetables. A fruit is the ovary of a flower, which contains the seed. A vegetable are all the other parts of the flower that are edible that is not the fruit, like your roots, your stems, and your leaves. So now we know the difference between fruits and vegetables.